Hello and welcome to this episode of the Game Dev Local podcast. I am your host, Stuart de Ville. You're probably sick of seeing my face and hearing my voice by now. And today's guest is Lauran Carter. I'm going to hand over to her to introduce herself.
Sure. Hey, Stu. How you doing?
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, first of all. So, hi, I am Lauran. I'm comms director at Liquid Crimson currently is my role, and I also co-run, co-organise Guildford Games festival and everything connected.
Very, very busy industry body. So what we're going to talk about today is your interesting path into games, because I created a post recently on LinkedIn, and your response on like how you got into the industry was wildly interesting to me. As a fellow wiggly career person, and we like to hear those conversations, because a lot of people, when they're getting into games, they feel like there's a path that they're not aware of, or B, they feel like their path is too squiggly for them to make it in, and or maybe they're trying to cross over from some other career. So these are always really good to hear. So let's crack this open with the beginning of your origin story. Before games paid the bills, what were you actually aiming for?
This is the thing that I sometimes have trouble kind of connecting with now, 20 years later. But nothing. I had no aims. I had no ambition. I just wanted to leave school and leave college, and then just fell into working admin jobs that, for the most part, I hated.
Yeah.
And it was always a joy when you found one that had, more than one person that you got on with, and you could actually go to work and have fun rather than just doing a really
for sure
difficult, boring job. It's the combination. So yeah, I remember waking up in my rental accommodation, having been in the workforce doing just general admin work for a couple of years, and thinking, man, this is it. This is what I've got to do every day for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Got to wake up and feel like this if I want to, essentially live for the weekend, which was, I think, all I had at that point. And then I had a really good friend named Steve Kelsey, who's sadly since passed away. And he worked at EA. And I just remember having a chat with him in our local pub where we spent most of our time. I chat with him, and he mentioned where he worked, and I'd always played video games. My brother was hugely, even more so than me, into games. So chatted to him for a bit, realised that there was not only an EA in Guildford, but there were a few game studios, and I had no idea. And then asked him if he thought it was something I could do, and he looked at me like I was mad. Like, well, yeah, it's a job in a place. Anyone can do that. Like, of course you can. Yeah. So from there, I started applying for roles at EA, and that was my first kind of taste of having an aim, of having something more than just getting the bills paid, something that I actually care about, and I've been running with it ever since.
Nice. So what would you say was the what was the skill from your pre-games life that enabled you to make the crossover?
I was always a people person.
Okay.
I enjoy working with people more than anything else, which makes so much sense as to why my career, I'm sure we'll get into, has followed social media, community management type kind of paths. I knew that it's one of those things. I've since been diagnosed with ADHD, so now that I know that it's that now. But at the time, right, we're everywhere.
Yeah. Late stage. Yeah.
Yeah. I was 37, I think, when I got diagnosed. So at this point, I'm like early 20s, and yeah, just very aware that I wasn't entirely like other people, that I don't ever be happy to work my way up a career ladder where the end goal was wearing a suit and doing presentations every day about figures. Like, it was never really, I loved music, but it wasn't something that I could follow as a career. It was very much knowing that I had a bit of a creative flair that needed, not that I knew at the time, that needed to be cultivated, and that getting that from the roles that I was in, essentially.
Nice. So what is it about your first break that you think got you in. So like, why do you think you got it?
So EA, as a lot of studios do, although there are ebbs and flows of this where it maybe doesn't happen as much as it should, but the games
Yeah.
industry has always been about personality fit,
Mm-hmm.
about the right person for the right team to ensure that, you know, the kind of seamless moving forward of that unit then happens. So EA recognized, thankfully, in the first interview that they knew that I would be a fit for the studio. This is for the Guildford studio where Criterion and Brightlight used to be. We miss you, Brightlight. But they put me through an initial interview. I didn't get the job because it was probably a little bit more technical than I was capable of. And then they just kept doing it, Stu. They just kept calling me up and saying, hey, we've put you forward for another role. And I
Wow.
think I went through like 4 or 5. This is a different time.
Yeah.
And this is the thing
A little bit
I'm
different.
sure we'll get onto. It's a different time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was much appreciated on my side, but they put me forward for, I think, 5 or 6 roles in the end. And one of them was working with the online publishing team as kind of a team administrator, but with a touch of test kind of thrown in as well. So a real baptism of fire. And I remember meeting that team in particular and thinking, my God, they're my kind of people. Awesome guys, Mark Evesley and Mario Rizzo, who I believe are both still in the industry, and I reach out to every now and then and check in with them. But yeah, I remember just thinking these guys are perfect. However, I then went away because I had a house to run and, you know, rent to pay and all the rest of it. In the interim, whilst waiting to hear back from EA, I was offered a role at like Philips, I think, also in Guildford at the time. And I ended up taking it because I didn't want to keep chasing EA. My social anxiety meant, you know, I can't keep asking them the same question. They're really dragging their heels. I'm just going to accept something else. And I remember getting the phone call from EA to say, we'd love to offer you the job. And I don't know if it's just the way my brain works or that it felt like a legitimate response at the time, but I turned them down. Like, thanks guys, that's really cool. I've taken a job at Philips now. So
Wow.
just remember hanging the phone up and my brother, who I was with at the time, looking at me, just going, was that EA? I was like, yeah. Did you just turn them down? I was like, yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing? So I called them back and accepted. So that was most definitely the most important one. Yeah.
What was the time space between no and calling back and saying yes?
Oh, less than an hour. Like I probably argued for a little bit over it because what would be the point of having a conversation with him if we didn't do that? But yeah, it wasn't long at all. And thankfully they hadn't found anyone else.
Can you imagine? Like, she said no. She said no. Like, yeah, we gave her a few. She kept going back, but now she's saying no. And then they go, okay, cool. Well, we've got someone like, which we call the next person.
God, imagine. But yeah, thankfully I got that. And then it was 6 months, I think, as is EA's whim before they shut down the online publishing team. But it was that foot in the door that meant that I was no longer just an administrator. I was now aware of the 20-something studios that were in Guildford and had a CV that said I'm an administrator in games.
Nice.
So it really helped me out. And I got to do lots of test stuff as well, which really helped, weirdly, fast forwarding 15 years or so, 10 years or so with community management, because I could really understand the processes and the language needed from doing that bit of test at EA to be able to communicate it thoroughly. So yeah, that was the most important.
The language is like, it's a pretty big thing, right? Because when you first start putting yourself into this world of games, I mean, now I probably would find it hard to figure out what are the keywords that people struggle with. But I remember recently Roxanne was saying, I think she's actually creating like a list of these words where if you're coming into the industry, you're going to hear all of these words and you're going to be like, sorry, what does that mean? Whereas most of us actually don't do that. We just go, log that for later, try and figure out what is the context around that. Well, if you know, I think this might be an ADHD thing where you don't just go, I want to feel stupid in this moment and ask the obvious question. You kind of go, I'll see if I can math it out, figure out what that is in that context. That probably means this, and hope that you or was it not that bad for you, do you think?
No, it really was, and it continued to be. I mean, it was the case when it came to like test stuff. and just getting to understand the industry initially, like very kind of top down. But from EA, I mean, a few roles later, I ended up at Lionhead as team administrator, and I was having to minute meetings, and I'm having to go into meetings where before, you know, being an office manager at a games studio, you don't really need to know a lot of what's being spoken about. You just need to run the space, or being a receptionist, or you know, there's a few other roles on the admin side where you don't necessarily need to know all of the different terms and words for things. But when you're minuting exec meetings with really important, you know, high level stuff coming out the other side, that quite often in those situations, you're finding out about decisions that are going to be made at the studio before anyone else. So being able to type those up after the fact and communicate exactly what was said, the context it was said in, what it was referring to, which aspect of you know, the enormous game dev tree that we deal with. So yeah, language is a huge part of it. And ultimately, again, all of this knowledge, having spent so much time embedded with game dev, even as an administrator, when it came to doing more communication style roles, I had all of that base language and understanding of games development as a whole, as much as you can, obviously, because things change and things don't work how you expect, etc. Yeah, that enabled me to be able to have those conversations and get to the bottom of bug situations quicker and all kinds of stuff. It's very useful. Knowing as much as possible is good.
Yeah. In those early days, did you how much would you say that you got into the whole like networking scene, or were you like, I'm comfortable in this job, I'm getting to know the job, and then because obviously you run Guildford Games Festival, and that a large part of that is networking, and a large part of our industry is networking. So at what point do you think you kind of started to maybe realize that was there, or started to get involved in that?
I think this is kind of part of the GG origin story as well. Essentially, there was no community in Guildford, which
Oh, right.
is
Okay.
insane.
Yeah, that is insane.
People would go out as groups. You'd go out
Mm.
as your studio, you know, as in a group, but there was no connective tissue between any of the studios, and in some cases, no real life knowledge of any of those studios, because it was either, you know, at the time, very small group of entrepreneurs who all knew each other to a certain extent, but anyone at those bigger studios pretty much stayed in their bubbles. That is what GG was all about, which I'm happy to elaborate on as much as you want me to. But yeah, there really wasn't any networking. Like even when I was at Cody's and some of the other spaces that I've been at, there wasn't even any urgency. Like if E3 or even develop, like there was no fuss about it. It was a thing that may have been mentioned and maybe a couple of people would choose to go, but the studio as a whole, like having no presence was almost normal. E3 was just a pain because it meant we had to get something ready for it. No one was excited
Right.
about the opportunities of being there. It was just, these are things on the periphery. We're making games. We're not going to do this unless we absolutely have to. It was really shut down. So yeah, towards the wider community, I don't remember there being very much integration, and certainly none within the Guildford scene itself.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because like the games industry is a magnet for introverts and like geeky people who like to do geeky things, and socializing isn't like our at the core of who we are or what we do. And yet it has become like the biggest part of, certainly if you like if you're looking to get into the industry, like where you hear about jobs and where you, especially if you're in the indie space, making those connections is like almost like the most important thing aside from having the skill. And it's such a weird dynamic. I mean, it was the same for me when I started doing meetups with GDL. Although for me, it was kind of like the backwards engineering thing of like, I don't want to go out everywhere and meet people. So if I host a thing, people can come to me. And then that was my introverted way of saving myself. But because there's two things that goes on there as well. Because one, like people get to know you, kind of, but also you get to hide behind the fact of like, sorry, I'm busy running this thing. So you've
Always
always
something. Mm.
always an out, always like,
And they
I'm
go
just
so
gonna check.
fast as well if you're hosting
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Oh my god. So, and the bigger they get, the faster they go, right? Um,
It's, yeah, that's it. I mean, it was that was where GG was kind of the space that GG was formed to take up, was the knowledge that we had all of these amazing studios, all of these incredible creatives, and none of them were communicating because NDAs, which, yes, are scary. You definitely shouldn't break those, but there's a ton of stuff that we could be sharing that could be useful. You know, we know that there isn't really much competition between studios for talent necessarily, because each
mhm.
studio is working on something quite unique, and that will attract a certain kind of person, or projects are ending, other ones are spinning up, etc.
Yeah.
So just having everyone get to know each other and have a central space that was for them was kind of the idea behind all of the Guildford Games stuff, which I get to host, and they go incredibly fast, and I love it, but also wish I had 3 of me so that I could
I feel
see
you.
more people, have more
Yeah,
chats.
yeah,
But
100%.
yeah, we've created a really, really cool thing with it. I've had a few people say to me, but the one that sticks out is my bud Greg from Soundcuts, who runs Air Wiggles. We had a handful of Guildford Games hoodies made up, and I handed them out to as many people as I could. And Greg said to me one evening when we were heading into the drinks that nothing makes him prouder than to have Guildford Games on his top as he walks into a room full of his people, and knowing that this is about kind of cultivating the bubble of awesome that we have in Guildford. So yeah.
So how did Guildford Games come about?
Well, it's a little bit before my time. So
Oh,
GG
okay.
is it's I mean, I was involved from the beginning.
Yeah.
But it was formed by my co-director at Crimson, Jason, Sam at Yuki, some guys from Charles Russell Speechlys, who are a local law firm in Guildford, and a few other people have been involved along the way. Dan Thomas was involved for a little bit, Sam Reed, a few folks have kind of dipped in and out, and done incredible work with it in the time that they were there. So initially, I don't even know the exact order of all of it, but we had the first festival was 2019, and we did an awards that year as well. I hosted those awards, so that's how I can claim I've been involved since the beginning.
Nice.
Sneaky, even though all I really did was talk. Just showed up and talked at people.
That's quite that, you know, that is quite the thing, especially, you know, for us more introverted people getting up on stages.
I think I'm an omnivert. I need to recharge, but I'm perfect. Yeah, I live for those crazy. Anyway, I think I was pretty full on. It was really, really hot. It was in June. It was ridiculously warm, and I don't remember much about it, but it was great fun. So we had the awards, and then the festival was like 10 exhibitors, and maybe 100 people joined us. And yeah, that was the first year of Guildford Games. I came on board the following year, and then we went into lockdown, and that made, threw all kinds of new challenges at us, as I'm sure you dealt with.
Yep.
But yeah, we were building something pretty cool that was very much about the game dev community. It wasn't, it was designed to connect and bring all these people together and celebrate them via the award show. And that was kind of the thinking behind it. But we had a festival, I don't know, 2019, and then we were straight into COVID years. So yeah, I was involved from 2020, and we, instead of having a live festival, instead of hosting something at G Live because we weren't able to, we got permission from a handful of the Guildford studios to let us come in and do some very COVID safe filming with key members of their teams. And we put that out on Steam and on Twitch. I think we got front page of Steam because we did it in collaboration with a Guildford Games Festival sale. And running those, I think it worked out at like 9 hours for each year, 9 hours of interviews with like really important people, some key Guildford names, and people that have done some really, really cool stuff. And we had to do 2 years of that because of COVID. But what we discovered, going out live on Twitch and Steam, meant that we got, I think it was combined 4.3 or 4.4 million views.
Nice.
And was my reasoning to then go to the committee and say there's obviously an appetite outside of the games industry, never mind outside of Guildford. There's an opportunity to maybe expand this a little bit and bring some other aspects in. So once we were back in G Live, which would have been 2023, I think. No, yeah, blimey. Yeah, by that point we were welcoming well over, it may have been closer to 2,000 people. We had 60 different studios, etc., exhibiting. We had around the same amount of people hosting on, speaking on talks and panels, and it's just gone from strength to strength. And now we're looking at, I think it's around 4,500 people join us at G Live every year.
Wow.
And it's mad. It's really
yeah.
So yeah, that was the idea, and that's how it's kind of grown. And now we've become quite a key space, not only for the industry. We've noticed in the last few years that more and more people from gaming as a whole are joining us from around the country, but huge amount of students, and we're now starting to hear the kind of fruits of that coming back to us, where students met someone at the festival and that led to them applying for this role, and now they're a game developer or whatever. So we're just coming, I think, through the kind of top end of our growth, and then stabilizing into something quite, something that the industry seems to be responding really well to, as well as others. Yeah,
it's nice. I didn't know about the Twitch thing. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's been a journey, dude. The whole thing
is, it's like it's weird, isn't it? Because I think when you start doing this thing, you kind of just have this feeling that like it would be nice to do this thing for people and support people, and like when I started working with GDL, I didn't expect it to become what it is today, but yeah, you just go with it, don't you? You're like, oh, I want to do something nice, something fun, something cool, and then people go, I really like this nice thing that you do. You go, okay, cool, and then they tell some people, and then they tell some people, and then
that's it. And what I really love about GG is that it is, because it's first and foremost about the community. That means that we have, I mean, first of all, we try and shape it to be as useful to our core community as possible. So we put, and we, if opportunities get shared with me or anyone else on the committee, then we try and share it with studios or put the right people in contact. We just act like the connective tissue. But we also have a group of super, super engaged and passionate volunteers, most of which coming from from the Guildford games industry, but a couple that aren't, that are just people that would love to have a career in games, but for the time being are doing something else, and we just try and involve them and give them opportunity as much as possible. But yeah, it's about Guildford first and foremost, and a big part of that, as well as the connecting, is the celebrating of this incredible, hub of talent and creativity that has just ticked along since the 1980s, making games that people are seeing advertised on ITV on a Saturday night. Like it's a really cool thing that Guildford exists. So looking after, celebrating it, and alerting the wider world to it is a big part of what we're doing as well.
With how your career came coming from outside the industry into the industry, something that's quite common that you probably have also dealt with is imposter syndrome. When do you feel like maybe, or was there a moment when you first felt like maybe you didn't belong, and how did you handle that?
I think there was an element of feeling it all of the time.
I still get it now. Whatever people say to me, like, does it go away? I'm like, not really.
No, I mean, it's definitely quieter. And I think it really is, like, it's a tricky one, because I'm not saying it's about other people, but what really helped me was having colleagues that I hugely respected, that were extremely talented in their field, being proud of me and telling me they were proud of me. Like that's the stuff that kills imposter syndrome. Making a point of taking time to tell someone when they've done something really good, especially if they've come from outside of no formal education. In my case, like, I just rocked up and then was given all of these great opportunities to do cool stuff that meant being the kind of banner woman for any number of the studios that I worked at, which is a scary thing to do, stepping out with all people's hopes and dreams on your shoulders. Like, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, every time I went a little way out of my comfort zone, or every time I did something that wasn't necessarily in my job remit, as long as I wasn't in trouble, which sometimes happens. Sometimes I just run an idea and hope no one will get annoyed about it. But having my colleagues say, you did real good.
Yeah,
helped.
I was the same. Like, in fact, we kind of have similar paths, kind of really, because I didn't know who I was or what I wanted to be when I left school. I knew that I liked drawing stuff, so I went to art college because in fact, my mum said to me when I finished school, she was like, "Okay, you go to work or you go to college." And initially, I was like, "College? That's just more school." Nah. So, like, at 16, I threw myself into the working world. Went to McDonald's for 6 months, and I was like, "Mum, what was that thing you saying about college?" Because college seems like it'd be much better than work. I didn't realize work was this. Um, so I went and did art college, and then out of art college, was a drifting artist, basically just doing all the creative things. And it wasn't until just over 10 years ago when I found games, and that's when everything fell into place for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters how long you've kicked around the games industry. Imposter syndrome is always, to the tiniest amount, always going to be something to contend with, and it is just about taking stock. Like, that's something that I do a lot more now, is take a step back. Having kids has really helped with that, actually.
Having kids, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, being a parent. I mean, obviously, this isn't. We're not talking about whether or not you should or should be a parent here, but yeah, it really does. I think because when you're growing up, you're all like, what am I going to do? What do I what do I want to do? What do I care about? And then you have kids, and you're like, these people need support and help and love and care, and so I need to like sort out whatever the hell it is that I'm going to do, and that needs to happen now.
Absolutely. Yeah, it gives you focus, definitely.
Yeah.
And how fast time goes and how quickly things change in a tiny human, and then you can come back to your desk and think, I'm still working on that thing from 6 months ago, and in that time he's speak. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It helps. Yeah, it helps motivate. But yeah, taking a step back is a big part of it. And really, see, you can't see because it's on this wall up here, but this wall is maybe, in hindsight, I created this to help with imposter syndrome without realizing. But this wall has photos, tickets, like little notes and badges and all kinds of stuff from throughout my entire career, and little moments that I really want to be reminded of when we did a cool thing. I've got a photo of the Lionhead Facebook page hit 1 million likes, so I made everyone come out on the lawn and have a photo taken with thank you for 1 million likes, all that kind of stuff. That, at the time they feel enormous. In hindsight, they can seem small, but they were all really, really big, important things at the time. I've got like my E3 pass up there and things that remind me of all the good stuff I've done. Because everyone's you're gonna have bad days, even if you're doing the thing that you love. It's still very easy to, on occasion, come in and think, oh, really? Have I done enough? Am I doing enough? And reminding yourself it's very important.
Yeah, I love having my debug indie game awards like up on the shelf there. You got I told you, like we've had very similar very similar paths. Do you know what's crazy about it though is that I got invited to go along. Obviously, I knew I'd been nominated, but in my head, I was like, it's not. It's nice to attend, nice to be there, but I'm not going to actually be asked to come up and be on stage and receive an award. Like, I was nominated, but I won't have been selected. And so we're sitting there, and luckily, my award was like one of the last awards that was due to be handed out. And every time someone went up on stage and they received their award, they spoke for like 30 seconds to a minute, and I was like, shit, if I do, I've got nothing. Shit. So I grabbed my phone. My partner was sitting next to me. She nudged me because she was like, "What are you doing getting your phone out?" And I was like, "I don't have a speech. If if I have to go up, I have nothing to say. So I had to I scrambled and I started like it's like yeah, stuff. And then I got up on stage. I'd like Deer in the Headlights was just I think you can see it in the photos. I was just like, um, thanks, wow, Jesus Christ.
Oh, bless
And
you.
then I just couldn't even believe it was happening. And then when I sat down next to my partner, she was like, well done, good job. She was like, um, just want to say there's one person you didn't thank that everyone else thanked. And I was like, who's that? And I was like, oh shit, you. Every other person up on stage. Of course, I couldn't have done this without my wonderful partner. Of course, I couldn't have done this without my wife. Of course.
Oh,
uh, and she was the one person that I didn't thank. And I was like, but none of this happens without you. And she was like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, but you know, you know this.
she'll
Yeah.
know that it was an honest
Well,
mistake.
she said I will never forgive you, and I said, well, I'll try and win another award. And she's like, it's too late.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, get working on that next award.
Yeah, I'll
Just
try
one.
and win another one. She was like, it's too late.
What did you win? What is your award?
Um, it's an unsung hero award.
Me too. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I was wondering. I think we may have been the same award show, possibly. Because I wasn't there. I had to send in a video. Sorry if my dog's about to start barking. Hopefully not.
That's all right.
A video acceptance. We may have been the same
Mine was 2024.
show. Oh,
Yours
yeah.
Holy Moses! Look at us.
Yeah, but you would have been thinking about your speech at the time mine would have been playing. Makes sense.
Yeah, very, very possibly actually, because the whole thing actually is a complete blur to me. I was working with the Bullion team on Bullion, the game, so the game was showcasing there. So I was like, I was there more for that than anything else. So winning the award was just like, oh wow, cool, thanks.
Congrats.
Yes, you too. Congrats. So, with having been in the industry now for as long as you have been, obviously there's lots of advice out there, lots of like common bits of advice that you hear. What would you say from all of those bits of advice? What is the one myth that you would kill if you could? So, what do you think is a common piece of advice that is actually out there causing more harm than good? It's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one, and to be honest, the biggest one would probably be my pick, which is that video games are harmful. Like it's something that we've really learned with running Guildford Games Festival. We get a lot of parents because it happens during half term, so a lot of kids want to come, and then their parents will escort them or whatever. And yeah, we spend a lot of time. I get told every year that various developers have spent a chunk of time having to convince a parent that video games are not evil. And that's even still a thing when we're now speaking about the biggest creative industry, bigger than all the others combined, right? Yeah. So how can it be that evil? And yeah, I think there's still a huge amount of work to do around showing the breadth of games, that it's not all FPSs, and it's not all
kind of it's fantasy. Not all loot boxes and
yeah, exactly. Yeah. All of the stuff that parents, and quite rightly, again, I know that there are parts of our industry that probably still needs a little bit of work as far as speaking as a parent. However, we're doing a lot of that good work, and studios that aren't even being spoken about are doing some incredible things, and the landscape is vast. So yeah, I think just the general misconception that video games are bad, or that people getting into the industry isn't a viable option for an extremely fulfilling and
do you know awesome. What that one is wild. I still occasionally have like members of, I mean, it's always been the case, I think, for anyone who's got an artistic career. Your family will go, so still doing that? When are you going to get a real job though? When are you going to bring home some real money? And you're like, oh, actually I can make okay money from doing what I do, making games.
And that's it. I mean, I suppose whilst we've probably got some work to do on the myth, and we'll be doing so for quite some time. I suppose it's probably worth noting for anyone that's listening to this that may be trying to break into the industry. My experience getting into games, the world has changed.
Oh yeah,
It
completely.
has changed so
Completely.
much. Some of the stories that I remember hearing from my old Lionhead team, I'm sure it was Ted Timmons, I could be wrong, but he just wrote letters to everyone in Guildford, all the studios in Guildford, until one of them replied saying, yeah, you can have a job. Like that, it's not that anymore.
Yeah.
I was lucky that my dog wasn't barking until now. Thank you. We'll see. He seems annoyed about that. Yeah, I was very lucky that my parents happened to move near Guildford, and one of my friends happened to work in a studio and told me about it, and EA happened to say, hey, let's just keep running with this because we like her and we think this could work out somewhere. There have been a lot of those moments in my career that if just one of them didn't happen, then none of this would have happened. It's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
I think when I actually joined the industry, I think it was 2008. So it's been a long time now, and to have been almost entirely based in Guildford as well.
You
I
haven't
know
had
my
to
niche.
move house. Yeah. That's great. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like I kind of feel like the mantra has become, well, yeah, the industry's on fire. Like the number
Yeah,
of times I've both heard that, and it's like it seeps into my my general sayings. Like someone will be like, "Oh my god, I've been like I've spent like a year or more like trying to get into the industry," and I just go, "Yep, industry is on fire." And then obviously I try and counterbalance that with like, well, maybe I can help you get in, like, or maybe I can point you in direction of some resources. Like maybe there's yeah, there's all of these places where it might help, but it is incredibly
yeah,
tough getting in. It's yeah, like you say, it's not just. I mean, even because I came in after you, um, and when I came in, it wasn't awful, but I certainly was just like struggling to get in and punching my way through. Um, I did it very wiggly. Um,
mm,
yeah, and I just think, and I would say that now Wiggly is almost like the only way. There's no like clear cut. You can't just apply to 4 or 5 studios that you and in list of like, well, this is the one I'd like to work at, and then be cool if I could work at these 4, and then just leave it and just chill out and wait for the you. Yeah, it's just a constant stream of
yeah.
networking and sending out your CV and
And
um,
networking. I mean,
yeah.
I visited the Brit School last week, with invited by London Venture Partners, and we got to meet a lot of the students that were working on the game dev course that they've got there. And then there was a short Q&A with the group of us that were in attendance, and the question was asked, what is the most important thing, but almost phrased as, what's your most important resource for finding a
Mm,
job? And my response to that was networking.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you've never, you know, spoken to a game developer before in your life. If you're not making connections, and if you're not, showing enough of your personality, which I know is difficult in social situations to truly
Yeah.
be yourself, really hard, but your personality for a lot of roles in the games industry, your personality is your biggest sell, because there is still an element of hiring the right person for the right role. There
Mhm.
are a few whales that can be whatever they want, because what they bring to the table is so important that it doesn't matter. Oh,
Yeah.
they want a room highly dark where the lights don't come on until 9 in the evening, they can have it, like whatever they want, that's fine. But for the rest of us, it's about being a cog in a slightly bigger wheel.
Mhm.
And yeah, your personality is the first kind of flag you can fly to show a prospective employer who you are, and how you work and how you think.
Mhm.
um yeah, I think it's still, even though the world is changing, even though it's harder and harder to get into these spaces, and then to, in some cases, put the mask on and be normal, which is the thing I struggle with the most, when you're meeting someone for the first time. But yeah, it's so important. It's so
Yeah.
important. So many, like, my career was almost entirely built, the pillars of it are those just, chance interactions that led to something else, that opened
Yeah.
this door, made that happen, and that's all through being a talker.
Yeah, my whole career as
Well,
a my whole career as a freelance 3D artist has been, I spoke to someone at a thing, and well, typically probably one of my things, and then it's come up in conversation. Oh, like what do you do? And I go, oh, I'm an artist. I do this, I 3D model, I rig, animate, blah blah blah. And then they'll be like, oh, cool. We're actually looking for someone to do some of that stuff. And I go, yeah, I'll take a look. Uh, which is my nonchalant way of being like, oh, give me the job.
I'll do it right now. No,
Yeah. And
that's it.
then I do tend to, like, after that conversation, I do tend to follow up fairly quickly, and then if they show me anything, I try and do like a mock-up very quickly. So I think that's also like something that you need to be able to kind of find an opportunity, but then make sure that you jump on that opportunity and you don't just be like, oh, I don't want to bug them and message them. Like, I know that we spoke 2 days ago at an event, like just do it. just
Yeah.
yeah, as soon as you get back, if you want.
That's it. And the thing is, talent speaks for itself, right? So if
Mhm.
you're in contact with someone and you've shared a portfolio, you've done a not too extensive test, etc., your talent is then the next most important thing. If you've opportunity because you've gone out of your comfort zone and spoken to someone and made a connection, but yeah, then your talent will speak for itself. So
Yeah.
as long as you're competent at your craft and have honed it as much as possible, that's like, if there were a magic potion, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
all and that's all you need is, in some cases, 10,000 hours of practice. But
Yeah.
at
I
least.
think like the one thing that I've noticed over the years, like, of everyone that I've spoke to, of all the portfolios that I've seen, um, having the skill never seems to be the issue. Like, there's everyone who comes into this with, they I think there's just something about games where people come into it with that passion. They, whether it's like directly a passion for wanting to make games, or whether it's a passion for their art and their art they can plug into games.
I think I
There's
know what.
Yeah.
Sorry, the difference. It's because every single person coming into the games industry will be doing so for a different reason. We're all living off this amalgamation of all of the games we've played and the games that we love from what now, and that makes us gives us each our own different love for the medium, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many different things, and the way that our brains would puzzle it all together and then kind of create this is how I feel about video games. We're all kind of carrying our own little precious idea of what it is, and we want to try and evoke those feelings in other people.
I think mine's almost directly tied to being a dopamine hunter,
There's
but
that.
but it's a very specific type of dopamine, and I think it's the same for all of anyone who's a dopamine hunter. And it's that, like, for me, without this without this turning into too much of a therapy session, for me, it's being told that I'm good at the thing. So when anyone goes, "Oh wow, you're really good at that," I go, "Yep,
Thank you very
more of that, please."
I mean, funny you
Yeah.
mention it, because I think there is a very good reason that I run a creative agency now rather than work embedded in studios, and that is dopamine hunting. Because I can be spinning 50 plates and doing all kinds of different bits and pieces, and completion dates are all coming in, different, and there's tending to do lots of different stuff. So yeah, it's both. It's both.
It's definitely both, yeah, for sure. Let's do a legacy question. So, if someone listens to this podcast in 5 years and takes away one thing from your story, what would you want that one thing to be? Or what would you hope it is?
Be batshit passionate.
Be batshit passionate.
Completely batshit passionate about what you're doing. Like, there's really, it ties into the kind of authenticity and the making connections, all that kind of stuff. But the reason that I've been given some of the awesome opportunities that I've been given, and I feel like I haven't really given you guys a full idea of what all of that is, just mentioned my origin. But I've done things like, I've been on stage when E3 was still a thing for the Xbox media briefing. I've been on stage with Phil Spencer. I've got to, I launched 2 Point Hospital. I've interviewed Maisie Williams. I've done all kinds of a lot of things that sit on the outskirts of games nowadays, but embedded with studios, it was all entirely game dev focused. And every opportunity I've been given is because I've been batshit passionate. You know, like I can't be any other way.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to someone about something that I care about, they're going to know about it. And, you know, again, the industry is a different place at the moment, but it used to be that there weren't very many of my kind of personalities in studios that were happy to take center stage and you know, do media briefings or be on live streams or whatever it was. So my absolute love of this industry, and I mean, really the incredible people that you know occupy it, because without so many of those people nurturing me and you know offsetting my imposter syndrome and telling me that I can do the thing, or offering me an opportunity to do something, yeah, the games industry is occupied by some of the coolest, most talented, just wonderful, good, for all the bad rep that we get, some of the best people I'll ever meet in my entire life. My son's godfather, for goodness sakes, was met by a Lionhead, my best friend Benny. So it's, you know, it's games has become my life. Not just a job, it's my life, whether it's Guildford Games or, you know, running things, doing stuff at Liquid Crimson, or the other day I was playing Animal Crossing with my 3.5-year-old, and no, he didn't understand it, but he was very impressed.
You know, I do a lot of that with my kids, because they're typical. I don't know where they get it from, but they're typical geeky boys. And yeah, having a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old be impressed at my Mario Kart skills,
Yes.
yeah, it's quite something.
Yeah, it's rad. And that's it. That's the legacy, right? It's handing it down to the next generation and giving them the understanding of why you love it and what they can look for to then find the things that they love. But yeah, I am batshit passionate about all of it. Is my point. Absolutely, all of it. Things like Guildford Games, that wouldn't exist if it weren't for passion. That's run by volunteers as a not-for-profit. There are, you know, 4 or 5 of us on the committee, and then a group of maybe 15, 20 other people. And we do it because we love it, and we find a way to make it work. And speaking of legacy, that does, a couple of years ago, that reminds me, my son, as boys often are, it seems, was quite late to walk. And I remember around this time, 2 years ago, being locked in my office and the time ticking around to 6 o'clock when I was due to be going down and making dinner and everything. And I had too much to do. And I messaged down saying, look, I'm not going to show my face. Don't let him know that I'm here. Don't mention me. If I can leave this room before his bedtime, I will. But I've got so much that I need to get done for the festival that I just need to focus on it. I think, Stu, it was 20 minutes after that message was sent that I got a video of my son walking for the first time. I was just like, you're joking? Like, I can't, I'm in the house. And it was that day that, although this is always meant to sound like a bit of a joke, but I don't think it does, because I might mean it too much. It was that day that I decided that my son is but half my legacy, and Guildford.games must be the other half. And I continue to pour as much as I can into it without missing any other major life events. So it's about finding something, you know. Getting into the industry is going to be tricky at the moment, but, you know, getting that role, it's not just about getting a role. It's about finding your people. It's about, you know, finally being aligned with a support group that is pulling in the same direction as you and doing something really cool. And then finding passions within that can break out into other things. You know, Guildford.games is a prime example of us just wanting to give something back ultimately, and to create a really, really cool thing. So yeah, batshit passion. That's the most important thing. Loads of it.
Amazing. So yeah, that's roughly it from us for now, for today. Maybe we'll get you back for another time and we'll do a deeper dive into more things. But it was absolutely lovely having you. Where can people find you online if they were looking to find you online? And is there anything that you want to promote coming up?
I guess the most important thing to promote would be the Guildford Games Festival, which is time of recording a month today, so the 20th of February at G Live. We still have some tickets. We have announced We've got Hilmar from CCP being our keynote speaker. We've got Peter Molyneux on a panel. I don't even know how I'm going to deal with this. It's going to blow my mind. So surreal. We've announced some incredible speakers, of which you can find on all of the Guildford Games channels, which is for the most part at GU Games Fest. But if you just type guildford.games into your browser, that will take you to the website. And then for me, I am the Albion Girl at the Albion Girl across pretty much everything. And you can check out everything that Liquid Crimson does as well via our website, which is liquidcrimson.co.uk. There's some really cool stuff on there, and showcases that I'm writing at the moment that I'm really behind on. But enjoy them. I'll write some more.
Perfect. And as always, you can find us, depending on where you're watching or listening. You might be listening to us on a podcast platform like Spotify, where you can also watch us, or you might be watching us on YouTube. Obviously, we live there. I say obviously, you might not know. And you can find everything and anything Game Dev Local at gamedevlocal.com. We also have a whole bunch of stuff going on right now. We are the #1 global game jam site in the UK, and so you can come to that. Although depending on when you're listening to this, you might have run out of time, because it is on the 28th of 28th of January, 30th of January, 30th. We do from the 30th. And then we also have GDLX, our Indie Games Expo, which is the 28th of March, which is why I had 28 stuck in my head, obviously. So again, thanks, Lauren, and until next time, everyone, see you around.